think, you have heard two speakers speak about, nuances of design, both architecture as well as MEP. And as the promoter of a company which has to execute, I am mostly at the receiving end of all of this, all of what was spoken about, because nothing goes the way they generally perceive. Okay, am I right, Neha? Yeah. Siddhartha and I both are non-designers, so we are excused from that kind of thing. So we are going to touch upon how things go haywire, when what is perceived doesn't happen, ceiling comes down, there is some problem, walls get broken, structure inadequate, regulation, makes us go for a toss completely, and that is why I have requested Siddhartha to come on the panel, because he was wondering why am I called, for a session which has got nothing to do with me. He has got nothing to do with design as such, But when I have heard, from industry, that what are the problems that go on, and Nat Health, has been an institution which is trying to, I think best, Siddhartha, is you tell them what Nat Health is all about, and what have you done, in recent times for the problems that we spoke. I think you are the best one to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Desai. You have been a part of Nat Health for very many years too. Nat Health is a relatively young organization, about 12 years old. Across healthcare, it embodies, or it has around it, all the facets of healthcare, starting providers, hospitals, diagnostics. I mean, I heard dialysis, or nephrology, home care, senior care, the entire array of providers. It has medtech, pharma, the supply chain, and the distribution of that supply chain. It has insurance, it has investors, it has medical education, it has digital tech, and including startups and some of the innovation arms of healthcare. I'm glad that Dr. Desai and a lot of other infrastructure players see now a value in Nat Health. And the reason is Nat Health deals with an agenda that is very convergence focused of the entire ecosystem. Ultimately, infrastructure is going to grow as financing grows, capital grows, and there is an expansion of the healthcare footprint across the country. And there are real hurdles to make that happen, and working collaboratively with the different stakeholders is the only way to grow the sector and grow the infrastructure along with it. So with those words, I hand it back to you, Dr. Desai.
I'll go there and decongest the stage a little bit, in terms of the... So, I was recently, about last week, I think it was Friday or Thursday, I attended a seminar, Viksit Bharat 2047. That's the story which is now coming out, right? So, and that was with a designer software firm called Nemesis Check. I don't know whether you've heard of them. ArchiCAD, that sounds some bell? All right. So they were the ones, who had organized this seminar. And I was just wondering the way they were speaking about, all that is going to come up. I think from a design angle, what are the hurdles, that you face? We will start with Neha, Ashish, and then Anil. So what are the hurdles you face when you design? Give me 3 kinds of hurdles that, you would want something to happen in that space.
I think when we say Viksit Bharat, there's a target to meet the numbers. And the moment you say we meet so many beds in so many years, there's a pressure, right? And the pressure to build generally ends up compromising the overall facility in a way, because you have a pressure to meet the timelines. So I think one of the key things that at least we now know that we are getting into is actually standardizing it. So if the government is taking an initiative to really meet a target, and without compromising the overall healthcare facility design standards, I think we really need to make an effort that we standardize these things. It's not just calling out what Viksit Bharat is going to be about, it is also calling out what are the facilities it ensures to be part of the system. So I think in that case, the designers and the developers can actually work together and ensure that a basic standard module, so that it is not just about being pocket friendly, but it is also about patient centric. So when you are ensuring that the standards are not compromised, when you are ensuring that the workflows are not compromised, even if it is affordable, but can affordability be also a compromise solution? No, it doesn't have to be, but that is how it is seen.
So can I ask you one very quick question around
Yes.
that? Because I have faced that dilemma. Government and private sector,
Yeah.
I think in India at least is 180 degrees,
Yes.
apart.
Yeah.
But when you standardize, would we standardize both of them? Or
Yes.
will be different standards for this guy and different standards?
No, I think that is the whole thing. We always, as international firm also, we always say FGI guidelines, JC accreditation, right? Who are writing these? These are basic standards. If NBC can be written, why can't a health guideline for India can be written? It's very simple, right? So setting those standards can also be taken care by private organizations, can be taken care by government organizations. But as long as the patient health is not compromised with the heights to just give beds, it is not the beds which are recovering the patients. It is the efficiency of the staff also. If they are not having good workflows, there is going to be a point when the staff is also not handling the cases properly. What does that flow to? Patient not getting recovered sooner. So everything turns around. I'm not saying that design is the only way out, but setting up standards. Standards for everything, which is like a minimum standard to be followed in every facility. I think that is the missing piece. Like National Building Code of India today talks about fire. Does it talk about sustainability? Does it talk about infection control? Why are we not updating our guidelines for healthcare also? Why are we not having those standards? So
I think Siddhartha is enjoying because he understood now why he is here. Yes, Siddhartha, there are not only those guidelines, there are many more that are going to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any more, Neha? Or, standardization is what the message I am taking from you.
Okay. Okay. Now you have to.
Okay, so next is me, doctor.
Yes.
That's why you're looking at me, right?
And I'll before you start, let me give you this standard business.
Ji.
So about maybe 15, 17 years ago, Mr. Jhangiani, I think he was associated with Blue Star.
Blue Star, Hiru Jhangiani,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So, I was called upon to write an article for ISHRE, okay? Air conditioning in operating rooms. I got scared when my colleagues spoke about that, because for me, quite a few of them were new. So I wrote like a good Samaritan saying that if it's a CHC, you need not go for a 100% fresh air and this and that, right? And you can probably use a window, because I came from Rajasthan, where healthcare at that point in time as a medical graduate was not that advanced. And I sent that CHC we should probably use this either split or window, and for the better ones standard should be up. Article was rejected. They said there are no two standards. Yeah, that's why I asked. There are no two standards. The OT is OT, whether it is going to be in a rural setup of a government or it's going to be, in a. And by the way, IPHS, has a standard norms for district hospitals in India. Very few would know us, which one has to follow, and I mean, in terms of infrastructure, which is, coming up, and I'm sure that, my colleague from Ahluwalia Contracts will speak about it. I mean, the standard that we are coming up with in terms of aims and all, no less than any hospital that I have seen globally, to be honest with you. Yesterday only we went to Amrita, to see it. We got tired, man. So one of the things I took from my colleague is that we need to surely see how much we walk, kind of thing, both the patient as well as, yes, Ashish.
Thank you, Dr. Sahab. पहले तो डॉक्टर साहब इस पैनल को आपको करना चाहिए था MEP कंसल्ट, MEP वर्सेस आर्किटेक्ट्स एंड इंटीरियर डिजाइनर्स एंड स्ट्रक्चर
नहीं सर, उधर ओनर भी है
and owner also. But on a serious note, coming back, you spoke about standards. Standards that we follow typically in electromechanical design, and this is what Uday was also speaking about earlier, is our standard 170 from ASHRAE. And for energy efficiency, we go to 90.1. For air quality, we go to 62.1, and we keep looking at these. The biggest challenge is that we need to indigenize these standards. And this is what they also came up with that idea. Why are we not looking at that when our threshold limits are different? No, I've heard this argument many times. Look, how can infection control issues be with respect to a threshold? We are not saying there are certain critical areas, but there are certain non-critical areas also. And we end up designing every area thinking like it's a rocket science that we are going there. A simple example could be IPD room. You know, it can be revisited the way the things are being done, the temperatures and what we are doing out there. Having said that, ASHRAE itself today, because since I sit on the board of ASHRAE itself is looking at the bodies across the globe, working with them so that their standards can be more global in nature. That means the inputs from India or from other countries, they should be going there. Our experience should go there, and we should be able to do that. The biggest challenge is that we don't have any research background available to validate whatever we are trying to say there, but those are bigger issues. Let me come down to simple challenges when we face as designers in MEP. First challenge is, of course, getting our spaces. There is no shortcut in MEP design, especially the air conditioning when we come to. MEP requires maintenance. There is no such thing as install it, forget it. It has to be revisited. A simple air handling unit needs a cleaning of the filter. The tendency to stick the air handling units in the false ceiling, the tendency to hide the things do not exactly work. They are now being contrary to what we are trying to achieve as a sterile environment or the clean environment that we are trying to get there. I can give you an example of Medanta at Gurgaon. This is a lot talked about. If you go to the Medanta Gurgaon service floor, I did that 20 years back. The engineer there, the project in charge, Mr. Sanjay Batra, a lot of you would know him, he insisted, forget about FSI, I want a proper floor-to-floor height on the service floor. Until today, that service floor is a standard for our healthcare industry across the country.
What's the height?
3.5 meters, 3.3 meters, no, sorry, 3.6 meters clear.
But is it calculated in FAR?
In FSI, he said,
so
let it be FSI.
So that's the problem I will come next.
Yeah. The second issue is, okay, so that's first is the maintainability. We are trying to hide things away. We are trying to keep them as far away as possible. It doesn't work that way. The second is after you have done the design, the challenge is about installation. The installation has to complement the design process, like, you know, sealing the ducts. Dust should not be going inside. Commissioning of the equipment, commissioning of the air conditioning system. I'm just coming out of a 1,000-bed hospital here in NCR without naming it. The owner should be busy making money right now, covering up for whatever the loans or debts they have taken. Right now, they are just busy for last 3 months trying to get right temperature in the room, right relative humidity in the room. The medical equipment supply is threatening them. The patients are threatening them. They themselves don't know what's happening there. Why? And the last part is, of course, our operation practices, which leaves a lot desired. We design for a highest efficiency levels. Forget about efficiency. Kaam kar jaye, wahi bahut hai, to efficiency to baat ki baat hai. So there is nothing there. So there's a lot of shortcomings out there for the owners, which is there is a lot of pains out there for them. Yeah, thank you.
Actually add to Ashish, and this time he will not kill me, he'll support me. The thing is that we always benchmark projects, right? We always say built up area per bed in this particular hospital was so less. Why are you designing a facility which is, you know,
1,000 square feet per bed.
No, 1,000 is
So,
still less, yeah.
1,500.
1,500. So they keep questioning. But what are we losing on is exactly what he's mentioning. Because when you keep benchmarking to something which has worked in condition or situation where the service areas were not there, and even the kind of air quality or the, you know, exhaust systems which are there was not there as yet. We are, like the way he said, we are following a standard. So when we say 1,500 per square feet, it is not the bed per square feet just of the bed.
Yeah,
It is the MEP, right? It is, and this is the backbone. Like we always say, this is the backbone. If it is not functioning, you're not making revenue also. So even in Viksit Bharat, I would just say, that's when I said standardization. So it is not that you make a benchmark which has worked at some point of time. But when we are looking at future designing, we are looking at equipments, they are becoming leaner. But the HV system, the electrical system, everything, you know, how do you make it future ready if you are not ready for any other pandemic? If it is, you know, COVID this time, maybe something else. So that built up area per bed, I think we have to start rethinking. Let's
raise the bar above.
Or just at least set it up.
You know, so let me
Know
give
what
you a
is
story
right.
around that, Neha, before I move to Anil. So we designed Asian Art Institute similar 20 years ago in Mumbai, And Dr. Panda said this has to mimic Cleveland Clinic in the US. You know, in fact, the designer and me went to Cleveland, stayed there for 10 days, shared the design, all of that. And the thing became 1350 square feet per bed. Okay, Banda Kurla complex. It was the first hospital design. By the way, we never designed a nursing home. You know, so sir was also probably cranky, and you know, you worked in there, Anil. So then what happened? Electricity bills. Okay, centrally air conditioned, no. So Dr. Panda, when he taking round, he entering into rooms which are not occupied, switching off the AC and light and all of that. Because at the end of the day, you cut a check. You know, so the thing is, I agree with both of you all that, you know, we need to have that 3.6, how you got that, you know, I mean, Dr. Trayan, hats off to him, because very few promoters give you that kind of a, you know, leeway.
So Medanta follows that across right now.
Right. Correct.
Across for all the hospitals
So
at
that's
this point.
because the guy came from United States, he
No,
understands
he came
the importance.
from, no, the engineer there came from a hospitality background. He says nothing doing.
Right.
You have to have serviceable equipment
Right.
out
So
there.
let's create more Sanjay Batras, you know, so that we get
One more thing I'll add, Dr. Sab, here. The race to eliminate the service floors, carry the soil and waste pipes, open them in the ICU, turn them left and right, or carry them through to the next one. All sorts of things are being done in the name of the compromise which is going on.
Talk
So,
of Kolkata, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you are in trouble, big capital T. Siddhartha, you are from there, do something, man, for that state. Huh? Otherwise, we are having this kind of problem where, you know, I'm moving things here and there, here and there. So now coming to that, you know, and by the way, Siddhartha, you have to take note of this. You are not writing anything. Please write that service floor has to be, you know, minimum 3 meters, if not, you know, more. Minimum. You know, Neha, you are with me, right? Okay. All architects are with me. Please raise your hand. All right. There, Professor Diwan, the first one. Right. So Anil, now coming to you. You know, he said, so Anil works in Jaslok Hospital, 45-year-old building, okay, 52. And 52-year-old building, undergoing a transformation, you know, and the floor height, Anil, can I just say? Or
Yeah, you can, 2.9 meters.
2 point. Can you imagine? Ashish, we are working with him.
Sir, I'm doing an ICU at 2.7 meter height.
Right. So there you go. So there goes the standard, Neha. All right, Anil.
Yeah, so, you know, I worked with the Asian Art Institute, dictated by one person, the entire design, execution, operations. And I am working with Jaslok, which is a democracy, where the PL also can tell me what is to be done and how it is to be designed. So managing the expectations of the stakeholders is the main, issue when we are doing this project. Now each stakeholder, from the trustee to the doctor, to the technician, and then to the housekeeping guy, looks at their own comfort level or their own perception of how they will move around in the hospital. So just look in that, every person, whenever we construct, you have given us a design, we have done that 10th floor layout, for example, the IPD rooms we did on that. And in the end, we made small pantries, small change rooms. Right now, when I go there, I found that the entire corridor has got cupboards. People have even started keeping their clothes over there. And also, so when we spoke about it, she said it's a legacy hospital. People have been working there for the last 35 years, and they have been used to a certain way of working. So one question I was also asked is, why are you doing all these changes? You know, it's survived for 50 years. At the time when we started, it was 45. Now it's 52. We said, why are we doing all this? It's working. Everything is working fine. The patients are coming. The doctors are happy with it. Why do you change all this? So there's a room which has got a lot of this Shivaji and Mahatma Phule and the gods. I said and the trustees, of course, because of their good deeds, this hospital building is still standing. Okay.
It's like all mission hospitals say that.
Now, if you are allowing it to stay like that, probably we won't see. Your next generation may not see this hospital. So we have to go through this metamorphosis of building a hospital instead of an existing hospital. As compared to the construction of new buildings, we have patients on one side, and I'm doing construction on the other side. Now, the best part of it is our occupancy rate has gone up. So when we are doing hammering away, there is noise around and there is dust. There is a lot of complaints, but patients are continuing to come. So each when we started this renovation, we did the BMT unit first. And 100% occupancy in that area. Then we did the ICUs, 100% occupancy in those areas. So construction and engineering is just one part of the, the hospital. The faith in the doctors, the faith in the system, the nursing system, overrides the construction itself. So I go into engineering and then I suddenly find the duct, the CFM in that area is not enough to justify the engineering calculations given. That will hit the head because the duct has come so low that it will now, nobody can cross through that corridor. Usko chota kar do. Or CFM can go for a toss. Oh. Okay, so at the end of the day, then now earlier I used to roam with a tape around. With a tape on my hip. Kitna distance hai ye, kitna bada hai, doctor, those doctors are doyens in their field. So when I went to Asian Art, you need to change your slipper to enter the ICU. But there's a cabinet and you need to take out and you need to take. When I came here, 4 years in Asian Art, and I was very proud of the way it was being managed and the way it was constructed. Came to Just Look and started building the ICU.
Not constructed, designed. You said design.
Design, okay. Came to Just Look and I find that there's no need to change any slipper when you come into the ICU. So I built a shoe rack and we did a shoe rack and all that was thrown off. So when the doctor said, these studies show that the dust under your slipper don't carry so much as infection as for the person itself who's carrying the infection. So no need to do all this drama. I think you designers are just making a big hype about all this. Either anti-space, then the shoe change karo, fir andar aa jao. Aap paisa waste kar rahe ho sab cheezon mein. But at the end of the day, we keep on hitting up onto them, but this has to be done. This is the way. Go out and see the world, how the hospitals are being built. There are standards, and how do we compare our infection rates? So there is a weekly meeting on how has infection rates gone up, have the patients been detected. It's very minuscule. So now what? So we have to draw a line out to how much I should follow the standard and build it to that engineering standard, which in Just Look, majorly it is not possible because of the low height. But it's as I said, managing the expectations of stakeholders is very critical. The legacy which is already there, that they've succeeded in that particular environment, uska bar raise karne, we have to raise the bar now. Raising that bar itself is a big challenge for us. So the new construction which is happening, so now it is a hybrid construction. We got one retrofitting and now we are building a 5-story building in front of it. There, we are trying to build in these standards. Keeping the floor height at 4 point.
Which of the standards you think, we need tweaking in Viksit Bharat if, we want to really go ahead full steam with healthcare? She said standardize an area. He said about MEP, he's very passionate, is very obvious. What about you? You need something to be tweaked in
I think it is the 1,500 per square feet or 1,000, the benchmark that will fit is required. But at the same time, the people who are working in the hospital, the class 4, class 3 doctors, they're creating a space of comfort is very important. Just putting many beds in the hospital with the facility being cramped for the operating guys will not work. And secondly, I think this is following the same legacy. People are putting hospitals left, right, and center. But do we have the technicians, the trained housekeeping staff? Because I find the housekeeping which was there in Asian Art, very different lot. The housekeeping which is there in Just Look comes just a 9-to-5 job. They are not really knowing the infection control part of it, despite weekly trainings. So where we fall short is basically trained personnel. Doctors, of course.
I'm going to fix you on that. What would you want? So suppose FAR should it be tweaked in some way, or you want some usage of basements?
FAR is all for us.
Do you think flat slab should be allowed, or so Neha has already shaken head that she doesn't want
flat slab is there in Asian in Just Look, and we have not demolished it. Instead of that, we put metal beams under it and made it into a grid. Because if I try to break that,
if you have old hospitals, you are allowed actually.
We are allowed.
We design hospitals. Globally she designs. We design in Middle East. Uday, we have flat slab, right? He's gone to sleep. I think he came back at 3 a.m. Landed at 3. So we do flat slab pretty regularly actually.
We do.
We have done in India also before NDMA came out with their thing that you can't. That created havoc. So would you want, matlab पूछ रहा हूँ, would you want that, I have already sold that to Siddhartha.
The problem is that if you want a large room with no columns, we need for operation theaters, we need 6 and 7 with no columns, then the beam size increases. So then the headroom is affected. So it depends on what is the usage of that area. Then flat slab, if it is supported by very huge beam, structurally, a structural engineer certifies it, then why not?
Yeah. Now you just tell me you want or not. How to do it is left to people like Siddhartha.
I would want columns, beams, and everything to be done structurally. That is the way it should be. Not
then the height should have a problem.
Height should be the 3.6
No,
meters.
about 30 meters,
Doctor, I think this game of 45-meter healthcare buildings not going needs to be revisited. Even in the new NBC, that is not going away.
Right.
At this point of time.
आप 45 का कह रहे हो, हम तो 30 में, in Kolkata, if you design something, you can't put an inpatient bed above 30 meters. How am I supposed to plan? वो मेरा नीचे आ जाता है फिर. आपका सब.
So now there is no standardization between the states in the cities.
Right.
So even in Maharashtra, the Mumbai is different, Navi Mumbai is different, right?
Right.
So that is also a problem. There's so much of confusion what to be followed. Your parking norms changes, and then there's a 30-meter and 45-meter rule. The interpretation is also as per the person
So
sitting
30 and
doing it.
45 बोल रहे हैं अपन आशीष जी. We have a 112 meter tall hospital building is that Rajasthan, right sir. In SMS Medical College we have 112. In Telangana and Andhra, they are allowing 120 meters. I come from Bombay. We've designed Tata Memorial Center. It is 72 meters in that range, So, and we are talking of 45. वो तो 30 पे ही है. मतलब Siddhartha, you have heard all of them. Now, please tell us what efforts you have done, and if someone wants from here. No, he has done efforts. That is why he is actually on the stage today. He was wondering why I am on stage. Yes, Anil ji.
So once Naresh Trehan came to us and said, because of this pandemic, we don't want any waiting areas to be counted in FAR. We don't want any service areas to be counted in FAR because you said distancing, social distancing and all that. So he said that ground coverage में और FAR में आप toilets, staircases, services, patient waiting areas को मत count करो.
Ground coverage भी?
Ground coverage में भी और FAR में भी. So now Noida, new FAR and new bylaws are saying 100% ground coverage, no setbacks, and no height restriction.
I see.
So fire and all those things have to be very important.
So let's put up hospital in Noida. Anyone from Noida? Yeah. Yes, Siddhartha. What steps, at Nat Health?
So, sir, this whole concept of Viksit Bharat, I'm just going to maybe call out 5 or 6. I mean, we have been called upon to participate in creating a vision for healthcare. And infrastructure is also going to be a very important piece of that vision. And I'm sure there is a reason probably why I'm here, where as a community of designers, architects, we can find ways to integrate that view into the broader, healthcare system discussions that is happening. So I'll talk about 5 or 6 distinct themes, and these are areas I picked up through a lot of conversations, in the corridors of power. One thing that is going to change is the heights of hospitals, the restrictions of hospital heights. As you rightly said, many states, Maharashtra, Telangana, Rajasthan, on an exception basis, they have issued clearances for taller hospitals, both through the NBC guidelines as well as direct advisories from central government relaxing the role of NBCs in setting hospital heights. I think what you'll see in the months ahead, and a lot of it is the advocacy we have been doing, really justifying design parameters that doesn't compromise patient safety, looks at global examples, and is able to clearly articulate the need for raising the height of the buildings to serve patients more. That is a changing thing, and you are going to see as a part of a lot of our efforts, combined efforts, heights of hospitals will go up in almost many states that we are talking about. I cannot say about all, but in most.
Well, that is a good thing to do.
The second important area is it's important to start recognizing that the kind of financing available into healthcare, the capital assets, because healthcare is an infrastructure-heavy sector. I've been in a lot of conversations where there's a felt need to have infrastructure, lending status, long-term financing coming. That is different than the operational financing required for healthcare. And many governments, when they're looking at tenders, bids, doing this separately, the capital asset, building it separately, is seen as and a brownfield is seen as a way forward, as opposed to a lot of greenfield where private sector is asked to do everything. And it also means that the investors who come into healthcare, they have a choice to invest in both the capital assets as well as the operational kind of financing, right? So that's a very important flexibility that is coming in, and long-term capital needs of this sector means specialized capitals required for the capital asset build-up. Third aspect is there's a real conversation happening around the future of Ayushman Bharat and the PMJOI, the version 2, which requires us to rethink on designs, standardization, as you call the no-frills sort of activity you have been a part of. But that can be replicated at scale very quickly, right? Without compromising safety, but the ability to see what is really, really important, because the economics, the conditions in which these hospitals are built are not going to be in the prime metros. I have seen the fourth area is many state governments I speak to, they talk about 500-bedded hospitals, 700-bedded hospitals. Beds don't treat patients, right? Beds are an aspirational aspect, but the overarching ability to operationalize those beds eventually is tied to the demand and the supply side of the constraints. So being able to develop modular setups, start with 150 beds and then grow to 500 beds over time. Creating facilities that can be later on integrated into other, not all the facilities are going to remain over a 15-20 years. The model of delivery of healthcare is changing. And finding environmentally sustainable and really ways to reduce carbon footprint. Healthcare is one of the heavy polluting sectors, and it is a big area where environmental laws and sustainability needs to be looked at, is going to be very important. I think the last part, ability to find asset light, go as you pay kind of models, or moving into an operational lease, operational sort of financing models, where the capital assets are built. I mean, could there be a future? Could there be a future where whether it is medtech, whether it is the technology, whether it's a capital asset, is available for a plug and play sort of a facility? Like IT sector, you may have very large campuses, IT campuses, but there are few of them. Much of the facilities is built by co-developers who kind of take the risk and then make it plug and play and kind of resell it back into the market. And there is a need for 30-bedded, 50-bedded, 60-bedded sort of really secondary and primary secondary level of infrastructure which doesn't exist today. These are some of the broad trends. Healthcare is a sector you need not only 2 million hospital beds, but you need to get to Viksit Bharat sort of an agenda, you need the entire operationalization of that beds and the necessary financing and the investment vehicles and the necessary policy and the regulatory, the enabling environment for these beds to kind of take shape.
Right. So 2 million beds is what you think is the gap, right, Siddhartha? That's what
Right away.
Right away. All right. So I think.
I just wanted to ask you, this Viksit Bharat takes all the corporations and the state heads are part of this, what do you call, program?
See, sir, the private sector side, I mean, as a whole and all of you together, understanding what are the assets available in private sector today? What kind of assets? What kind of specialties? What is the install base? At what part of the geographies? Layering that on top of what is the need of the population over the next 10, 15, 20 years also means from a public and a private sector perspective, what are the areas where it's going to be easier to build the capacity. Some may be easier for private sector, some may be easier for public sector to build, and some may be possible through public-private partnership. So that sort of a exercise, of a forward-thinking exercise, looking bottoms up in terms of where is healthcare headed and what sort of infrastructure fits into the need, what could be built in public, what could be built in private. It is in the scope of this exercise, and the counterparties to this would be central government, state governments, major developers, major financiers, and of course operators and the broader ecosystem.
So why I ask you the question, over a period of time, the residential buildings versus commercial buildings versus hospitals, there were several concessions given to hospitals by the government to build, but that has got diluted. They have started charging the rates for premium for open space deficiencies, almost becoming very high. So it is also becoming a deterrent to modifying or adding capacities.
दिल से बोल रहे हो.
We are facing this every day.
I agree with you, sir.
I also have one question, which is actually because I'm generally
He
part
never
of-
thought that he will be bombarded with questions. Siddhartha, what is happening?
So all questions to you have come to me.
No, I wanted to ask you, when you are telling about the gap of so many beds, are you also counting for the gap for the staff, for the doctors? Because Viksit Bharat, if you are going to, like he also said, it is the doctor in the end that patient is going to come to, not to the beds, right? So whenever we have done a research as part of our, office and stuff, we've always understood that we only have like 0.1 or 0.7, and especially if you're looking at developing these facilities in rural areas, where, finding the right doctor or the staff is not there. So what about that gap? So this is one part of the question. The second part, sorry, I will let me
You are supposed to answer. Why are you asking question here?
No, I'm just, because see, even if we design infrastructure, there is a question the operation team also asked, and exactly what he asked, and he said, in one of the meetings, we were told that, what if the doctor is sitting in the stadium? Will the patient go to the hospital or to the stadium? So yes, the patient will go to the doctor, but where is the treatment and diagnostic going to happen? It is going to happen in the hospital, right? But who is going to operate it in the end is the staff.
Right.
So do we have skilled staff? So this is a question that we are generally asked, that you are building, but are you even building spaces for them to be trained? So in part of the Viksit Bharat, I'm just trying to understand, are we even looking at
Okay,
developing...
can I take a shot at her, Siddhartha? Yeah. So so just to answer that, because it's a very common thing.
Yeah.
2014 to now, we have doubled the number of medical schools. Right?
Yes.
Everyone says why? Because the number of doctors need to be doubled, nurses to be tripled,
Yes.
paramedics to be quadrupled.
Yes.
All right. So we are moving in that direction to create one doctor, 5 years MBBS, 3 years MDMS, 3 years super specialization,
DM.
10 years to create a doctor. So that is the problem. So now that 10th year is now going to run, right? So probably another 5 years to 10 years, you will have sufficient number of doctors, to man these kind of things that we are doing it. Question, of course, will remain whether, how you are going to lure them to work in tier 3 towns or tier 4 towns. Tier 2 tak to chale jate hain, So that's the kind
so
of...
hub and spoke model, so that was
yes.
the point. So hub
So
and
I'll-
spoke model actually started with that. So I think that is something that people are talking to us now.
I will just add.
उसके पहले मैं थोड़ा मतलब ऑडियंस अभी जैसे अहलूवालिया जी बैठे हैं, है ना? 2 million beds, sir. 2 million beds, one bed takes 1,000. सर तो बोल रहे थे 1,500, है ना? मैडम और नहीं, मैडम और राय. So that's the kind of square footage you need for that 2 million beds, okay? And that's the kind of capital that you will need to, for setting it up. Just the building bit of it. उसके बाद में medtech तो अलग है, और उसके बाद में नौकरियां. By the way, healthcare is, I think, the second or third largest employer, because we are not only hospitals, we are pharma, we are medtech, you can see the sponsorship also. So it's not limited to only healthcare. Insurance, education, all rolled into one. Healthcare is a very big basket, that we go with. I've been told that I have now only 5 minutes, she's already doing it like this. All right, so one quick fire to you all, or if you want to ask some questions, yes, please. थोड़ा जोर से बोलो यार, सुना ही आ जाएगा.
So my question is to Mr.
So
Siddharth.
can you also introduce
Hello,
yourself?
my name is Ankit Revo. I'm based in Delhi. Sir, Mr. Siddharth, I have a question. Sir, of late we've been reading there is a lot of private equity infusion, capital infusion into the healthcare sector. How private equity plays out across sectors, we have seen it's by nature it's impatient capital, park early exit. So a lot of this capital is coming, this consolidation happening. Parallelly, do you see capacities also being built up? And do you think private equity is going to be a double-edged sword in terms of hospitals running purely on capitalist models in terms of the end cost to the patient? Do you see a challenge on that side, or are we only discussing the development of the infrastructure but not the operational aspects and how it actually impacts the patients in terms of affordability also?
So before he replies, let me just, tell you that we talk about this private equity and big hospitals, corporate. आप सारा गिन लेंगे ना 500 से ज़्यादा नहीं है. That is not Bharat. Are you getting my point? So that is where I think we are going wrong, and that is what he was trying to tell. And that is where the standardization and also engineering bit of it will work if we 60% of healthcare in the country is sold by the government, not sold, provided by the government. Good or bad छोड़ दीजिए. अभी आप थोड़ी देर बाद देखेंगे how AIMS and all have been created. I am telling you, when I visited AIMS नागपुर देखने गया था मैं, I was stunned. If we can do this, I think we can. It will take time. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि एकदम से हो जाएगा. पर वो सब private equity का खेल बहुत छोटा है. It's not. I mean, they are not. You count on fingers number of beds. It's not going to make a. ठीक है, profitability and all that is there. Yes. And then one quick question for all three of you, and we have to go rapid fire.
See, India spends right now
Yeah, you have to be ready with
about
global example.
1.8. I mean, if you look even out of pocket, you take on top of it. You spend about 3.5 to 4% of the GDP into healthcare. So all sorts of capital. I think the real question is about all sorts of capital are required. I mean, there is a need for financing healthcare beyond just commercial borrowing. You look at 1% health cess that is kind of going on in the country. It's a way for mobilizing tax revenue. If you really look at other ways of doing, look at the current GST. It puts the sin taxes on some of the carbonated beverages and a lot of the tobacco products and everything else. It's a way to kind of plow back things into healthcare. I think the right question we should be asking ourselves is not go after, as Dr. Desai said, one kind of capital, but really saying how do we mobilize to build these 2 million beds or other sort of workforce mobilization, a much larger source of capital into healthcare, whether it is tax financed, whether it is bond-based long-term healthcare bonds is a possibility, syntax-based innovative financings, and other sort of ways India would require, compared to its peers in BRICS and in LMICs, at least another 3 to 4% share of the GDP if it were to kind of reach that health for all sort of a agenda.
Okay, Neha, very quickly, what kind of global, kind of standards or design solutions you think India could probably look at?
I think we've all been talking right now about pandemic, resilience, and evidence-based design. But two things which we've now started working as is one is the staff safety, because that is something we thought we always talk about patient-centric and not really human-centric. And with the things, how things have developed, I think the staff safety and like you said, the walking distances, the workflows for staff, because their health, their attrition really hampers the overall performance of the hospital as well as the patient outcome. So we've started doing like a proper, the way we used to do in hospitality, back of house and front of house. So the staff would have their own staff corridors. There should be workspaces behind departments.
Take care of people who providers of the healthcare.
Yes, so involving them. So I think the problem that even he faced as stakeholders,
Yeah.
stakeholders involved during the design process would not give him challenge later on when they are trying to fix by every stakeholder.
मतलब मैं तो राजस्थान से आया तो मेरे को तो मतलब रेजिडेंट डॉक्टर जो थे तो एक कमरे में एक थे. अभी मैं जहाँ से आता हूँ जे हॉस्पिटल एक कमरे में 8 हैं सर.
Residents.
I mean, it is inhuman, and you expect them to give quality of care is impossible. आशीष, यार ये MEP का कॉस्ट का है ना, everyone tells us कि यार बहुत महंगा है, but whatever I heard you saying, I think if you go that way, it's going to cost you what it's going to cost you.
डॉक्टर साहब मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ इसमें. कॉस्ट तो कैपिटल कॉस्ट तो आप नहीं सेव कर सकते क्योंकि जो रिक्वायरमेंट है फॉर द परफॉर्मेंस of the rooms, not the equipment, the rooms, that is only becoming more stringent and that is going to be driving the cost. But the issue is not here. The capital cost, if we keep looking at it that way and forget the life cycle cost, then we are going again the wrong way. जब आप विकसित भारत की बात करते हैं, the biggest issue is also there of the decarbonization. Nobody is talking about it because there is another sword which is hanging there of a carbon neutrality or reducing our emissions, which is also being driven through the operating cost. Now, I just want to make 2 points here. The first, we spoke about Medanta. If you look at the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, ECBC standard, it talks about the EPI of the hospitals, anything between 250 to 300 kilowatt hour per square meter per year. Medanta has achieved 150 and lower. They put that data into the public at some time back. It came because of the proper operation and maintenance of equipment. That means their energy cost is half compared to what the other hospitals are benchmarked against. So this is what can give you payback on what you are investing in. The second thing which I want to talk about, look, all these private, I agree with you, these are smaller number. The larger issue is out there. And we are making big hospitals, some of those you named it also. All of those are purely being done with 2 KPIs put onto these design and build firms, where we say that your KPI is cost and your KPI is time. Nowhere have we put a performance in their KPIs so far. What you are making are just the slums, which are not going to operate. And I can give you examples of the buildings that you spoke about. What is a horror story running in those hospitals in terms of operations, which they're going to see over a period of time. So we have to also be careful, what are we doing? So please, for God's sake, put a KPI on those firms, design, build, operate, and show the number for next 5 years before we take over. Put $1 million of penalty out there. That's when you'll get the right
I think that's the way it is, right?
Coming out.
Generally, in
No,
EPC
sir.
contracting?
Only the design, only the cost and the time, that's it.
No. It's a... Yeah, but it's built into the contract, right? So what he's saying is that we should give it for 5 years. I think I would agree with that.
Sir, जब the engineering की बात आती है, architecture की बात आती है, the pressures of the cost, most of the time they are unable to even hire the right kind of designers. The cost is, सर वो MEP consultant 5 रुपए ले रहा है, उसको ले लेते हैं, architect 10 रुपए ले रहा है, उसको ले लेते हैं. Why? Because there is no pressure of the performance which is there in most of the cases.
Yeah.
So
I think that is a good point. So last word from you, Anil,
in terms of the what is happening what do you call, more in the hospital is right now I'm carrying an AQI meter in my hand and checking for the NOxes and the formaldehydes in the hospital, because I have one department in the middle of the building which is maximum affected by this and stops my construction. Second part, so my method of execution, construction and all materials are also changing, because I can't do welding just like that, because it's releasing those gases which are affecting the air quality index. So each floor has now got an air quality index meter to check whether we are violating and whether we can control it. Secondly, AI is coming into this area of work as well, whereas the ICUs we designed, now we want to fix cameras in 1, 2, 3 beds to check the patient, how is reacting to that. So all that is again changing my infrastructure. IT and data centers are all needs to be now inbuilt into the construction itself. How much I can keep on doing this? There seems to be no end to this, what's happening. I construct, deconstruct, then again construct. So while this is a project, it seems to be going, it will go on and on and on forever. That's what it looks like, because of the advancement. And future expansion doesn't seem to be factored at all in this. 10 years down the line, the lab itself we built is now asking for double the space for new equipment, but we don't have it. So how much and how far we can go? That's the question we have.
Okay. All right. So I think I have run out of time. I have already overrun by 5 or 6 minutes. A big round of applause, for all of them.